There you go, get him. Now you got it.
Now smell him. Can't really smell anything.
Oh.
Oh.
There it is.
I'm Grayson.
And I'm Aidan.
And we're all senior docents here at the Petaluma Wildlife Museum. Today, we're going to share some awesome info about Africa's most famous odd-toed ungulate, the southern white rhino. But before we get into that conservation story, let's talk about some basic white rhino biology.
A group of rhinos is called a crash. They got this name from the loud, crashing sounds they would make when roaming through vegetation. They can also run up to 30 miles per hour or 48 kilometers per hour if they wanted to. One pretty common misconception about rhinos is how they protect their young. Using their horns to batter potential attackers is usually the last resort. Instead, rhinos will form a phalanx, a circular formation around the babies, and don't move an inch. What the males actually use their horns for is rubbing them into trees and rocks to mark territory, just like how a dog will pee on stuff to mark its territory. In captivity, the white rhino females don't use their horns to mark as much as males do, so in captive environments, males can usually be distinguished from females by their more worn down, nubby horns, although in the wild, this distinction is less so.
White rhinos are commonly poached for their horns. These horns can sell for a price of $20,000 per kilogram, and each horn weighs about 4 kilograms. That's about $80,000 per horn, so you can imagine why people were motivated to poach them. Once harvested, these horns are usually ground down to make a medicinal powder, but since their horns are made of keratin, the same thing that makes your nails and hair, it is entirely ineffective and does not cure any disease or ailment.
Between the 1650s and the late 1800s, Dutch and British imperialists had colonized most of the major African nations home to the natural range of both the southern and northern white rhinos. Habitat loss due to urban and agricultural transformation and heavy trophy hunting pressure from wealthy Western imperialists led to the near extinction of African white rhinos. By the early 1900s, populations of both the southern and northern white rhinos had dropped to less than 50 of each in the wild, a sad remnant of a historical population that had once exceeded 100,000. For the last 100 years, nations in the natural range of the northern white rhino have endured a succession of terrible wars and resultant political instability. The Democratic Republic of Congo and other war-torn nations have been unable to effectively stop poaching pressure on northern white rhinos, and sadly, as of 2018, the northern white rhino is officially designated as functionally extinct. The story of the southern white rhino, however, has a much happier ending. In the 1960s, South African wildlife conservationist and patriot Ian Player was able to piggyback off the fame and resources of his celebrity brother, South Africa's most famous athlete, Hall of Fame golfer Gary Player, and begin Project Rhino, an ingenious conservation plan designed to bring back wild populations of southern white rhinos to the South African countryside. Player collected breeding pairs of the remaining rhinos and gave them to zoos around the world to display, free of charge, under the stipulation that any captive-bred babies be returned to Project Rhino and released back to the wild grasslands of South Africa. Most of South Africa's grassland habitat is owned by the wealthy descendants of imperialist Dutch plantation owners, ranchers who also happen to be friends of the Player family, who have allowed the transplanted rhinos to live on their property under their private security and protection. Almost 70 years later, Project Rhino has been an incredibly successful conservation endeavor that has taken southern white rhinos from the brink of extinction to a stable population of over 16,000. A truly amazing story.
If you'd like to learn about more conservation stories like these, make sure to visit us at our open houses every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We hope to see you there. Somebody say